live, and it's live. I gotta hook up my headset and save that. Hopefully that sounds better. And in what live F sharp programming volume 36, I was working on the add bank card page, and I was setting up all the XAML for that. And this whole thing is like me practicing domain driven design, and also this idea of specification as a library. So hence you have various domains within this get ride application, this ride domain, this account domain, and each domain has a specification, hence a ride specification, hence a account specification. And so with the ride specification, if I scope to that in Visual Studio, there's a ride library and also a ride test, because tests are tightly coupled to a specification, right? So in the ride library, you have your operations that are essentially the partitioned into various modules. Let me see, controller mo. Can I do controller mo on here? No, it's not going to let me collapse. You have your before ride, your during ride, and your after ride modules. Okay. And the main function types in your before ride, or should I say your main operations in your before ride module, is you can request a price, you can request a ride, and you can also cancel a ride. In addition to that, you can, for the during ride, there's a request location. So this is essentially the device or the application pinging GPS services, saying, where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? And it receives the GPS coordinate, and then that application can go ahead and send that information to the server, so that this information can be saved in the database, and any other notifications that need to occur in regards to tracking, logging, etc. So that's the intent of request location. You also have your after ride module, where you have a ride ended response, which is a function that takes the end of ride and is going to result in some type of side effect, such as, again, communicate. Well, in this case, this ride ended response will more than likely come from the outside world, and this gives an opportunity for the application to perform its necessary side effects, whatever that might be. You also have pay fee after a ride. So one of those side effects is paying a fee for a ride ended, and that's going to be a price that will have a result, which is okay or error. If it's okay, hence relying on an external system to pay that fee, we have a ride receipt. Else, if it's that an error, we have this error description. If you notice that after ride, you can pay a fee, and we should get a ride receipt, as I just said. But in the before ride module, you have a cancel ride, where you have to have a pending ride to cancel. And over here, this should be a cancel ride receipts, or a cancel receipt, something like that. That's what it should really be. And so then that would be a pending ride and a validated card transaction ID. Okay. Now, if I attempt to build this, if I attempt to build this, I'm curious if I have any, stop. If I attempt to now build this with this latest change, I'm curious if I get compilation errors, and I do right over here. So this cancel ride is supposed to take a cancel ride receipt. Now this cancel ride type, that actually this might be okay for right now. So if I put this back, this is really representing a pending ride to a cancel ride. Okay. Um, and over here, yeah. So that's actually okay. We just have to call a function in which you pass in the cancel ride, or you pass in a canceled ride in order to get a canceled ride receipt. Okay, so what I want to do now is in the actual XAML file for my, in this case, we're in the account domain, so I can scope to account. And for this add bank card over here, I want to start doing the data binding to my view model. So control MO, none of this stuff works when I try to collapse it. Collapse resources and collapse definitions for row and grid. Okay. And so right over here, this entry right here, that's supposed to be the cardholder name. So I need to bind that to my view model. My view model is this account.viewModels add bank card. Okay. And so this is where I need to start making modifications. First is maybe I want to maintain a certain convention. So holder name. Okay. And if I do control M over here, now that works. And we have holder name. Okay. That holder name, that should be fine. So I wonder if that matches up with the other V. No, it doesn't. So let's align that and go back to our add card.xaml, and then we'll just say binding context equal, not binding context, it should just be text equals, and then we bind here to a holder name like that. Your picker over here is a type that you select from. So for example, you have Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, etc. Right? That needs to be designated as your item source, and then you select your selected item, which is the actual card type. So in our view model, card types over here, we need to initialize that, and we need to also have a initialized method for our add bank card so that we are able to query. Let me see. So that we're able to query the various bank card types. So I have member x dot initialize method. Okay. And that's going to be a count, and with that count, you should be able to call. We need to add a new parameter in here, but more than likely it'll be like a query, and then that will be a. And I'm curious if this really needs to be. I'm curious if this really needs to rely on the database. Uh, versus just hard coding, because how often do how often do bank cards change? But then again, uh, there may be other reasons for putting it in a database. All right, I think it's more, for lack of a better term, maintenance friendly if we identify the cards that are supported in the database. So you have account.query, okay, and that query is going to be um, you could say card types, supported, something like that. Okay. And that will, because it's a query, that will, which we haven't defined yet, that will result in a result type that will be a okay. Actually, we can pipe that to a function that will pattern match on a result type of okay, in which you have your card types. Right now, we'll just call it result. So you have okay types, and then you can say x dot. You can say x dot card types equals card types, like that. And then if it's error, then you have some message. And with that message, you can say message broadcast to, and then I guess handlers or something. No, in this case, it'll be error handlers. Do I have error handlers in here? No. Handlers, something like that. Now this handlers is a add bank card failure reason, and that is completely different from an error retrieving card types. Um, so one thing that we can do is we can either add another parameter called error handlers, which may be okay, or we can make handlers, instead of it being a list, it's a record that contains different properties that could harbor a list of functions for responding to add bank card failure, and then the other one would be a list of functions for an error that we just described for attempting to retrieve the bank cards that are supported. So that's another way. Right now, I'll just say error handlers, and then I might refactor it later, something like that. And so then I'll scroll down here and I'll say broadcast to error handlers. Okay. And then let me see. The typo does not match type unit. I don't know what that means. This card types, we can't do equal sign. We need to mutate it like that. Okay. And so now we have this query that isn't defined really. This isn't link. This is something we're defining. So we need to have a query in here. And that's going to be I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It'll be this would be we'll just call it query. Like this. And that query we need to define. For convenience, we'll start off defining it in here, type query equals, and we'll have for our property bank cards, okay? And that's going to be ultimately that's going to be well, it would be a string, but in regards to data binding between the view model and the actual page, it needs to be rendered as a list of strings. But for right now, when we query it, I think it's a good idea for us to be very domain centric and the whole ubiquitous language thing. So when you query bank cards, it's not a list of strings. It's a list of, or it's a result that, if successful, will be a list of bank cards, right? So this would be a bank card, which I don't see in here, list. Okay. And so I can go into my specification, and for the account specification, let me close you over here. There's right now, I don't think any operations defined for querying bank cards that are supported. So, actually, no, it's right here. Query bank cards. And then that's the account. And then you get validated card list, error description. Okay. So that works. So here you have query bank cards. And so that's already defined for us. In this case, query bank cards is the actual function and not a record. If we go down here, then we have account.query. That query is kind of misleading. So query cards supported, something like that. And then we can have, now remember that returns a list of validated card. So we can then say that our card types that's returned, if our operation is successful, we need to say list.map, and we want to take each validated card and convert that to a see, that's wrong. Okay. This query bank cards, that's based on, again, an account, which is a user's account. and you get a validated card list, which means these are actual cards of the user. That is wrong. We just want to get the cards that are supported. So type query um, bank cards supported or accepted, accepted, okay, which is totally different. That doesn't require an account. That could just be a unit, and then that's going to return a result that is, if successful, is going to be a what? Um, in this case, is there such thing as, well, I could say, in this case, a card. There should be a card type in here. And then if that fails, an error description like that. Our card type is Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, or just invalid. Okay. So now that we have that defined, we can either put all this on the same line like that, or we just treat it as different. So over here, we have query bank cards accepted. And so that will be I'm going to rename that to accepted. Okay. And so then down here, this doesn't require an account. And so then this will receive a unit, and incomplete matches on again, this is takes a unit and returns a result that's should be a result of a card type list. And honestly, it should be a card type non-empty. And so then we can say incomplete pattern matches. For example, the value error may indicate a case not covered. Well, so what's wrong with this? This okay over here is result.okay. Oh yeah, because we have this open-ended thing right here. So then we can say we should already have like a function that converts a, nah, never mind. All right, so we'll have our card types right here, and we'll have a card types dot map, and in here we'll have a function that has a type, and call it T, and or we could just call it card type like that. And then we can have a card type you pattern match on that, calling function, and I actually want to define this up here and say let uh, card type to text to text, and that will take a card type right here, and it equals function. And then you can have your, I should just be able to say visa, and that will be a visa. And I feel like this should already be defined somewhere as a core function, or at least in my account domain. Yeah, we have two type text over here. Okay, so theoretically, I don't need any of this right here. I should just be able to say, boom. Um, in which this card type should map to this over here, which means I could get rid of you over here. Okay. And so now it says type constraint mismatch. The type string list is not compatible with observable collection. Okay. And so then we can say, let result equal, and then we'll just say card types, whatever, to that over there. And then we can say this is going to be observable collection of what? Of string. And it's going to take inside its constructor a result like that. Okay. And that should be happy. Now, if I do Control-Shift-B to build this, I could have also just take this right here and throw it in there like that. And then I would remove this line up here. That might also be satisfactory. So now I have a whole bunch of funky, indeterminate whatever. That usually means that I need to annotate a certain parameter listed in the, what is all this? Let me see. Add bank card takes 5 arguments, but it's given 3. What's this over here? Okay. So over here, I need to say for my add bank card view model that there's now, for the second parameter, a query cards accepted function, right? And so for the second parameter, should have mock dot and say query cards accepted, something like that. And this is, yeah, so this mock is in my test API, which doesn't appear to, no, I'm in my module mock. Okay. So this is a view model right here. Validated card is a function in my mock module this query card's accepted, I need to define. So I'll do that right over here and say let query cards accepted. And that'll just be a unit that it takes. And that will be a list. Okay. That list will be a visa, a oh, come here. It'll be a Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express. Is there anything else in here? And that's it. Those are the cards that are supported, right? And maybe I should force that in here. I don't really have to. This would be overkill to say, I think it's card type list, which I don't really need that, right? Because it's kind of apparent in here. So now what? Well, this over here, remember this is it needs to be a result type of card. So over here, I probably need to say, okay. And then, make that a lowercase k, like that. And the function is still not happy. Okay. So maybe because I need to map this to a query bank cards accepted, like that. And if I do it like that, then I should make this this will be a function that will take, in this case, a unit, and then we can return this over here. Go back. Return this over here. Okay, so now this appears to be okay, which means that I should be able to do that maybe. Will that be happy? It's still not happy yet. Um, so now this says that add bank card takes 5 arguments, but here it's given 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, because we added a air handler. It's over here. Okay. So now that builds. Well, at least that compilation error or red squiggly is resolved. Attempt to build again. All right, and there's some more errors. And so over here, all this is going to be in the test. So now, yeah, this should be able to easily be resolved by, let's take this right here, and let's say that we mock account, then we say mock dot what? Mock dot, where's my IntelliSense at? Um, should be like accepted, query cards accepted. And then there should also be an empty list for error handling for right now, like that. Okay. So then we could just take this, put it on our clipboard, and then say that we want to search and replace in this current document, this current line for how we get a view model to this right here, and replace all. Okay. Now, ultimately, our app logic should be handling this, but for right now, we'll just chill. All right, so over here, there's a mock failed attempt, and that is over here, like that. So then we'll put that on our clipboard, then we'll do a search and replace. We'll do a search and replace on this line, Control H, do it like that, and replace all. All right, so no more red squigglies in this specific file. Next thing we have to do is run our tests. All right, so everything builds. If I run my tests, do my tests still pass? The tests still pass. Okay. Now what? What was just accomplished in the addBankCard.fs, which is the view model here, we have an initialize method that will attempt to query the bank cards accepted, and yeah, so all that looks fine here. Now in my app logic, well, hold on, what was the original thing I'm trying to do? It's data binding between XAML and this view model right here. So if I return back to the original intent, then we'll see that we now have our card types that has been initialized, which is this right here. This card type for selected item, that should be straight. Okay. Or is it? There. We'll assume that that's straight for right now. Our entry over here, we need to set a binding. So we can say that this is the card number. So we could say text equals binding, and it'll be card number more than likely. Whatever we have established in our view model, that's his card number right here. Okay. And I'm not sure if that card number should be card number, or I think I usually see a XXX dash XX dash XX dash XXX, something like that. Okay. And down here, there's months expiration, months plural expiration, and the selected item is month expiration. That needs to be bound. So how's this work? Well, that's already bound. Okay, it's early in the morning. Picker over here, that's appears to be handled. But then just to make sure, no, there's expiration month and then there's expiration year. So that, let's go back. It's add bank card. See, all right. So these pickers will have a list of options to select from, and maybe we'll just provide the next 5 years that it can expire on. So expiration month there, expiration year is going to be down here. Okay. And then we need to create some properties for expiration months. Uh-oh, come back. We need to create some properties for expiration months. And we also need to create some properties for expiration years. Create a property for expiration years. All right. And so that is something that needs to be done. Hence, expiration month, expiration year will be our selected item in the view model, but we need to have a expiration months and expiration years. Okay. And that will need to be defined as a observable. Okay. And let me make sure all this stuff lines up. All right, that lines up. So go up here, and there's going to be a let's just do this. Go back. We'll do this right here and say that's going to be a observable collection string. Same thing for years. Okay. There's no red squigglies in the file. I'll go back to my add bankcard.xaml. We still need to incorporate the expiration months, expiration years into our initialize method of our view model. So then we have our query expiration months selection. So this might be expiration months selection. Or you could say query expiration months like that. And that doesn't need to be okay. So I'm getting caught up in things that don't matter. Expiration months will always be January to December. So that's not necessary. Expiration years is what we care about. Okay. So this will be years, and then you have x dot expiration years equals, and then you can have a years list dot map, and then you can just say um, 2 year text, which probably isn't defined yet. But that's basically going to take a, I think I already have something called like a 2 digit year. That's what it is. It's going to be like a two digit year to year. So it's 2 digit, 2 digit year. It's down here, F12. That's get year over here. Yeah. So, but that get year is based on there being that's a card renderer. That's based on the expiration dates. Okay, okay. So this right here can be let get year, which is going to have a year, or you could say year to text, year to text, let year to text, and then it's going to have a year right here, which is going to be a two digit year like that. And that is going to be, how does this work? That's going to be you could probably do something like this. You could probably say a 2 digit year and then value. And then you just return uh, I'll go back. You just return a value like that. So then you can do something like this. Okay. And this query expiration years, that's not defined. But it needs to, all this up here, all these parameters in the add bank card constructor, all that's going to be consolidated. But for right now, we'll have a query expiration years, which is a, uh-oh, up here, query expiration years up there. And so that would be a type, say query expiration years. And then that can be a unit that will be of results. And honestly, I don't think this really needs to rely on the external system, aka database. You could take the current date and time. Well, you don't even need the time. You could take the current date and then just project the next 10 years from today's date and just return that. That's all you need to really do. So what I mean is, instead of going through all this ceremony of this up here, then just like months, we can say that, like for example, we can get rid of this right here. And we can say that, how's this gonna work? Let expiration, you don't even have to do that. You can say expiration years, which is a string. You can say that's going to be a observable collection. Right now, we'll just say it's empty. Oh yeah, you have to say of string. Right now, it's going to be empty, but it wants something in there. And so, no, that should be, oh, that's read only. That's why, maybe. Something like that. Okay. But I think all we need to do is say, um, we could say let current year equal, and then we have to import this system.datetime dot uh, now dot should say year. Okay, so that's going to be in it, and then we should be able to say like, um, we want to add years, right? So we say let years equal, and then you can say current year. Um, how's this work? You should be able to say, like, within the list, we have current year, and then we can have like current year dot, uh-oh, we can have datetime dot now dot, it should be a add, um, and it should be years, and then hopefully it's just one like that. And when you do that, then you say dot year like that. And then we can do, uh-oh, can just keep going down, and we can say that this is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then we should be able to say that this is going to be a years dot, years, and then you can say list dot map dot map, and that'll be a function that takes a year as an integer, and it should just be a like a year that pipes into a string, something like this. Okay, and that should be it. Um, and yeah, that should be it. Oh, okay, something like that. So now we should be able to say x dot expiration years is that right there. And our our expiration months is, well, you can say, hold on, let me bring this down some. Here you could say x dot expiration. I keep doing C. X dot expiration months, and that's going to be an observable collection of string as well, right? More likely, but in this case, it's just going to be a 1 through 12, right? So you just have one. You literally have just one. Let me just say 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, it's so much easier if I just do this right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Um, and so this is a list, and then I'll just pipe that into a list dot map, and then that'll be a function that will take the month, and it'll just go a how's this work? A month, and it would just go. Honestly, I don't even have to do that. I should just be able to just say string like this, like that, and that should be it. Okay, and the same thing over here. I should just be able to say map, then string, just like that. Okay, and that should be straight. And so if we go back to our add bankcard.xaml, we handled the pickers over there. This security code style, we need to say that in our case, the text, what just happened? Why is text not showing up? Should be able to say, oh yeah, because we have this over here. We should be saying text equals, and then you say binding, and then it should just be like security code, like that. Then you have your button over here that's add bank card. Okay. And so that should be like the gist of how the data binding should work out for the view model over here. And again, like this, the parameters for this add bank card view model, that'll be refactored into a type called dependencies and well organized. Right, we'll have a handlers record that has two properties, handlers for a add bank card failure reason, and then we'll have handlers for other errors that'll be wrapped into one property. That's a record that has these two different properties right here. This query card's accepted, that will hit the database, right? Because that can change over time. But yeah, I think this is okay for right now. Now, if I do control \E for errors, there's nothing showing up. If I do control shift B to build, then that should build. And last step is to run the tests. In the next video, I'll attempt to get the application to render the XAML that I've modified that is tightly coupled to the view model that I just updated. And I'll do that in the next video. So the build succeeds when it comes to compiling. Now when I run all my tests, that stuff should still pass. Everything still passes. So I'll go ahead and commit my latest updates. This was a healthy this was a healthy uh, programming session, and I'll say that uh, added partial support for add bank card data binding and commit all and push. And that's it. All right. In the next video, I'll actually dig deeper into that. Now, where am I at over here? All right. I'm out. Peace. Adios.